This month, we're going to be talking into about AI and WordPress, what's useful, what isn't. Now, AI, artificial intelligence, has entered the WordPress world incredibly quickly. A couple of years ago, it still felt a bit experimental. Now it's just appearing everywhere. Encoding tools, builders, hosting panels, support systems, automation, and workflows, you name it, it's everywhere. But I think the interesting question now isn't, is AI coming to WordPress? It's because it already has. The more useful question, I think, is where is it actually helping real world work right now? Because most of us aren't building perfect demo sites. And we're working on evolved systems with plugins, technical debt, weird edge cases, and years of accumulated decisions. So tonight, I want to look at where AI is generally useful right now, where it's a little bit overhyped, and where human judgment still kind of matters quite a lot. So please add your comments in the chat as we go along, and we'll have some time at the end for a good discussion on this topic. Okay, as I mentioned, AI has entered the WordPress stack very, very, very quickly. A couple of years ago, I remember doing an Elementor meetup where they'd started to add AI prompting. It was a bit weird. It was a bit funky. I think I used up all the demo credits just trying to get one image done. And it still felt not quite integrated. But now it just seems to be booming. It's appearing absolutely everywhere. Page builders, of course, but hosting platforms, SEO tooling as well. I use SEO Press, and it just got a major AI update, latest version, and it does all sorts of cool stuff, especially page analysis, SEO analysis, looking through all your old posts and finding where you can link together, all that good stuff. I actually quite like it. But support systems, coding assistants, you name it, everything's got an AI integration part just now. Talking about Elementor, and it's not a plug or anything, but Elementor has an AI tool called Angie. It is loaded with the Elementor code base, and it can easily create custom Elementor widgets just from prompts. No developers needed. It just goes to show you how mainstream this AI integration has become. It doesn't just do coding, it does lots of other things. It's like a site layer, so you can prompt it to tell it to update all your plugins or give an overview of numbers of users or blog post counts, all that sort of stuff. But just to be able to have developers and freelancers create custom Elementor widgets as needed, we've moved a long way in a couple of years. So AI is here, and it's already working with WordPress workflows and inside plugins. And as mentioned previously, it's coming directly into the WordPress core in the next version 7.0. And Steve's saying Angie is platform agnostic. You can use it without Elementor. Yeah, absolutely. It's like a layer that sits just above WordPress. Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Real sweet.
So when you go to a website that demonstrates these AI interactions with WordPress, so if you're going on, and I won't name specific names, but if you're going on these plugin websites, those demos, those cool demos that you see are usually happening on very clean systems. They've been fresh WordPress install. It's got the AI demo. It looks really, really cool. But real world websites are messy. We all know this. Multiple plugins given similar problems, old builders mixed with newer systems, custom snippets nobody wants to touch, technical debt layered over many, many years. And that's important because AI often gives answers for the site you wish you had and not the one you're actually maintaining. You can ask really succinct questions to it, and it will answer, but it might not have context as to the whole site. This is quite a problem at the moment, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Now, I don't know if you've seen this website. I kind of used it many, many years ago as an example in a WordPress North meetup. So this is lingscars.com, and it's one of these early 2000s websites. And it's a good example of just how messy and legacy debt something can go. And this is an actual real website. It's just atrocious and fun at the same time. So I've kind of broken this talk down into three parts. Here's part one, AI as a thinking partner. So again, the focus is on how we can use AI in WordPress just now. I think one of the best uses of AI right now in your WordPress workflows is as a thinking partner. So not replacing developers, designers, but helping reduce that bit of friction in your workflows. I often use it to help explore an idea, explain unfamiliar code, sanity check a direction that I want to go in, or help untangle something really, really quickly. It's often less about the whole automation flow and more about accelerating your thinking process. So trying out different variants really quickly, seeing where that's going to head, see what the future repercussions are going to be, or spinning off different topics and ideas I might not have thought of. So I find using AI for sites particularly useful, especially when there are many code snippets, a large functions.php file, or custom plugin work involved. So if you've inherited a website, AI can be really useful in just getting a quick overview of what it's actually doing, getting a sense of where that website is, what it's doing, what sort of things is there supporting it. That can really speed up things like website audits. Now, AI is also very good at removing that blank page friction as to, where you want to go if you're designing a new website. You're staring at a blank page, kind of writer's block, but developer's block. So it's very good at things like starter CSS. So if you are planning to write from ground up, it's good to give it's good at giving you a framework as to the things that you need to get you going. It's good at doing custom device breakpoints as well. So that one client, that one board member of your client's website that's running a Samsung Galaxy S5. It's really good at catching those edge cases and making sure that everyone is happy. Rough PHP snippets. So if you're thinking about creating a plugin or a snippet to do a particular function, choosing the right hooks and filters, for example, not particularly in Core. I mean, developers probably know that, but maybe you're using another tool like SEO Press or maybe MemberPress or LearnDash. AI is good at honing right into that kind of area, into where you need to look at. WP query structures as well. So it's really good at writing quick and efficient SQL, but it's really good at debugging it as well. As well as writing SQL or finding out the right hooks, it's good at debugging stuff as well. So we've got some great tools in WordPress, the query monitor, debug bar and query monitor, always on my development stack. But sometimes the stuff you get back from that is very confusing, especially if the SQL statements are miles long. So feeding that sort of stuff into AI, it can give you a general idea as to where that plugin developer was thinking of going for that and trying to debug that. So it's a good way of just getting into your workflow work. Things like summarizing documentation from legacy developers as well. That is a caveat if there is any developer documentation, of course, or just skimming through comments to get an idea as to why parts of the code was put in, rather than you having to go through manually that. So it's making this workflow really, really quicker. Not necessarily doing it for you, but certainly kind of as a tool on your right hand to make that process that you do anyway a lot quicker. And this is where I'm particularly using AI at the moment. The last example is regex. I had a client who had a lot of regex stuff, and I don't know, you can add in the chat an emoji that best represents how you feel about working with regex. This is mine. But yeah, it was very heavy on regex, and it does your head in. I understand it, but AI just simplifies it so much, which is great. Yeah, crazy. So all this can save a surprising amount of mental energy and kind of free you up for other stuff where your skills come in the actual development side. But it still doesn't replace the understanding of the architecture that you're working inside. AI can have tunnel vision, whereas us as WordPress developers, designers, freelancers, we have to maintain that overall idea of exactly the whole platform, the whole architecture. And I think a lot of developers are already using AI, probably more than they publicly admit. Maybe not necessarily to build whole systems with it, but certainly things that we've mentioned in the previous slide, quick syntax help, rewriting or refactoring functions that are long, speeding things up, troubleshooting, converting code, and drafting client explanations about what a plugin does or what a bit of code does. So it's quietly becoming the new Stack Overflow, I think. The difference is that AI answers very confidently, even when wrong. In fact, it can be very, very convincing, and its errors will often argue the case by citing non-existing references and sources. So it can be very convincing and take you down a whole different avenue if you're not careful. So this is called hallucinations, AI hallucinations, and it's where there's some wires crossed somewhere in the LLM model, and it, as I say, it can get LLMs get very, very stuck in its ways, and be very convincing about the errors that it's presented you. Duncan says more people are going to lose their jobs. Yes, this is it. I mean, you can help AI, or AI can help you, and it's very good at those cases I talked about. But my goodness, you should not be letting it write the whole stuff for you. You still need human judgment, and even less so on production servers. So be careful and take time to think through any AI answers or suggestions. Fact check them for yourselves. Yeah, don't let it get away from you. Absolutely. It should be under your control, not it controlling you. So the second section, AI inside WordPress workflows. We've touched a little bit on this. But one interesting shift is that AI is lowering the barrier to automation. Maybe not as low as the picture suggests, but you no longer need to be like a hardcore backend developer, no JavaScript, PHP to connect workflows together. Now, Zapier, Make, NEN, those types of services have done a great job connecting disparate systems together, but AI is going to take this like to the next level. So things like onboarding workflows, admin summaries, registrations on your website, all that workflow there. Support triage. I mean, we've already saw a huge explosion of chatbots, AI chatbots. Documentation as well is going to be taken over. You have to be careful with documentation because of that hallucination. You don't want to represent errors as facts, especially when you're trying to win the trust of clients. And just workflow automation in general. They're becoming much more accessible to people like designers and freelancers. Those professionals where don't have a huge code background. So it's becoming this this leveling of the playing field type service. So for example, a freelancer can now build a fairly sophisticated onboarding flows for support and registration, without even needing to fully custom code anything from scratch. Just think 6 years ago, if you had a LearnDash website sitting on top of WooCommerce and someone buys one of your courses and then you want to auto put them into particular groups, send out emails, all that sort of stuff. Now, that was all done, but it's all still in disparate systems and probably required a little bit of code if you got some custom stuff that you want them access to. Now, with AI being available within WordPress, that's going to be a lot more accessible for designers and freelancers to do, rather than just rely on the developer to do that. So again, next month, if WordPress 7.0 ships, I'll be covering some of those new AI capabilities that the core is going to deliver. And it's going to make WordPress specific automation just so much easier. AI is compressing a lot of smaller specialist tasks, things that previously needed a copywriter, a basic designer help, light CSS work, image generation, rough wireframing, technical and basic on-page SEO. All that stuff can now be done internally much faster with AI. I don't think AI replaces freelancers entirely, but I do think it changes the way that clients value what they're paying for. Now, one noticeable change in this is that it's not just us that's interacting with AI, it's your clients as well. And clients are hearing stuff like, oh, AI can build websites. So naturally, they assume projects should be faster, projects should be cheaper, and maybe partly automated as well. But real WordPress work still involves architecture, judgment, performance, maintainability, security, and understanding business requirements. AI can speed tasks up, but it doesn't just magically remove the system complexity overall. It might be great for 1 or 2, 5 or 6 page websites, but when you're starting to add stacks like WooCommerce and LearnDash all together, that's complicated. It's a complicated system, and AI is not good at complicated systems at the moment. But with clients, I've already had clients, and maybe you have too, I've already had them ask variations of, can AI just build that now? And honestly, I understand why they're asking that. From the outside, a lot of AI marketing makes WordPress look almost fully automated, but it really isn't. So just be careful when you're talking to clients now that they have this perception that AI can do all this stuff. So when you're presenting your proposal, when you're talking through your strategy session, just be aware that the clients might have this expectation that AI can do part of what you are traditionally would pay for. They would pay for you to do as a developer or consultant or whatever. Now, part 3. So where AI still isn't so good. So as I mentioned, AI still struggles with system complexity. Complex websites are really, really hard. Plugin conflicts, WooCommerce edge cases, builder ecosystems, membership sites, multilingual, multi-site setups. The problem with AI at the moment, and I'm sure it'll be fixed at some point, but at the moment, AI generates isolated answers. It's got very much tunnel vision. It really struggles to reason across something as complex as an evolving WordPress stack, a platform. So for example, I was debugging one of my own plugins recently. It hooks into Gravity Forms registration. It is a WooCommerce and LearnDash website. That's why it's been in my mind. It checks client-specific restrictions and logic. It creates user accounts, manages ACL permissions throughout multiple classes. It's a really complex legacy bit of plugin. Now, AI could understand individual files reasonably well, and it's one of these OO boilerplate plugins. But once the behavior is spread across like auto-loaded classes, multiple hooks and filters, external plugin interactions, API calls, it just lost the picture completely. It just didn't understand. It was given answers to something that it couldn't understand the broad complexity. It just saw the file and it was just given these garbage answers, because it didn't have the context. Now, I'm sure, as I said, in 5 years' time, that might not be the case, but at the moment, if you are using AI in these complex systems, just be very wary about the answers that it's giving you, because it doesn't have this context and it gets lost very, very quickly when it's trying to look across these complex multi-layered systems. AI often produces technically correct, but architecturally wrong answers. And again, this is part of this tunnel vision. It's probably the biggest professional risk right now for us developers, WordPress freelancers. AI often produces answers that technically work, but they may bypass existing architecture because it's got those blinkers on. It will most certainly duplicate functionality. It's likely to introduce maintenance problems because it's generated this bit of code that isn't particularly integrated. And it can ignore plugin conventions and constants and variables and stuff like that. So the code that you're asking AI to generate may function correctly within the context of that one issue, but it could make the overall system absolutely worse because you're introducing new plain code. And I think we're going to see this happen quite a lot in client websites, and they're asking AI to do something, and it does that, but it just does that one thing. And then when they try to do something else, it's broken the system because it doesn't understand hooks and filters and how WordPress works in a multi-layered platform architectural way. It just solves that one problem, and that's it. So, for example, AI might generate custom code solution for something WordPressy or WooCommerce already handles properly. It can actually invent stuff in a code function that you could simply call as an API function or a REST API function, because it doesn't have that breadth of knowledge that we do as professionals. So technically the code would probably work, but now you've kind of bypassed core or plugin behavior. You've introduced future maintenance problems because you've got this block of code that's doing something that isn't integrated. And you've created something that the next developer probably wouldn't expect. Why is that code block there? Or AI just might suggest adding another plugin. It's done that to me before to solve a problem when the existing stack already contains that functionality somewhere else in another class or in another file. So I think this is one of the major hidden risks with AI as it is just now when we're introducing it into WordPress workflows. It optimizes for solving the immediate problem, not for maintaining overall system long term, and certainly not integration with something as complex as WordPress and multi-stack solutions that we as professionals deal with every day. AI doesn't just accelerate productivity, it can accelerate bad decisions too. As I mentioned, it can suggest adding more plugins. Just the way it works, when you're asking AI something, it goes out and it looks at Reddit and it looks at sources, and then it will come up with a generalized solution. And one of that generalized solution might be because everyone else has installed a particular plugin, so that's the answer it gives. We talked about coding. It can suggest more code snippets rather than understanding what you already have. It can suggest additional automation without understanding what automation is existing there at the moment. One of my clients has Uncanny Automator, and they have hundreds of recipes, which is a nightmare in itself, keeping track of everything. But when you introduce AI into this, it has no idea about that. It just looks at the problem, goes for outside sources, and comes back with an answer. But it's probably not the answer you're looking for when you're developing with these big multi-layered systems. So that can lead to more complexity. I did really, really quickly, out of context. It might be a quick fix solution, but I can tell you it's not going to integrate, and it's going to be a bad decision to go down that route and implement that in the long run. So the danger isn't obviously bad AI output. It's the believable AI bad output. And I think we're going to see a rise in what I call AI-assisted technical debt. So things like the extra snippets being added by clients, things like duplication automations, broken automations, registration working but weirdly, unnecessary plugins popping up, an AI-generated CSS that nobody understands how to fix 6 months later and breaks half the pages, which is where I just had a strategy session with a prospective client, and they were wondering why some other pages were looking odd. And yes, we did find some AI generated CSS that someone had put at the top of the customizer, and that just blatted out everything else. But it solved a problem on a particular page, but then rippled through the entire website and screwed up everything else. Yeah, just be careful. Maybe it's not you making these bad decisions; it could be the clients. But again, AI can accelerate those bad decisions and compound them as well. So actually imagine a client introducing a plugin that AI suggested, then adding a CSS code block to fix a particular thing on a page, and then all the other pages are wrong, and then adding even more CSS to fix those, and it soon just compounds into a big monster. So AI, yep, it can be good for us in certain ways, but can certainly accelerate some bad decisions too, and things just get way out of hand very quickly. So what does all this mean for us as WordPress developers and freelancers and professionals? The real skill, I think, is AI judgment. So it's a real emergent skill for us is to be judgmental. So knowing when AI generally helps in a situation, when to verify things very carefully. So if you are getting it to generate documentation, comments, functions, you need to be pretty clear that it's doing what is expected or what you have expected. And also knowing when to slow down as well, because AI can take you weird and wonderful places very, very quickly down the dark rabbit holes. Oh, I didn't think about that. Sometimes it's good just to think, well, actually, no, that's just stupid, or that's too much. Let's just bring it back a bit. And also to recognize when human experience still matters a lot more than what maybe AI is pushing you towards. Because remember, we're not just creating the most efficient sites, we're also creating user engagement, user workflow. It's got to be something that people are enjoying interacting with, not just fully efficient and working. So that's probably the real professional shift happening right now. It's not just using AI, it's knowing when to use AI and how to use it well, and how to understand that it might not always generate things that are truthful or things that are in your best intention. I don't think experienced word professionals are going to disappear overnight because of AI. I think we've got a little bit of gas left in the tank. But I do think workflows are changing very, very quickly. The people who adapt well probably won't be the ones automating everything. They'll be the ones who are just kind of developing good judgment around where AI actually fits in. And you never know, this could be a service that we offer in the future is, debugging client riddled AI systems, and bring them back into real world working solutions. Okay, I've got a few discussion prompts. I'm going to put this slide down now. I'm going to go through some of the chat and see if there's any points raised. But I've put some discussion prompts here. Things like, where has AI saved or added time in your WordPress workflow recently? Examples of AI generating technically correct stuff but architecturally wrong. And which parts of WordPress still feel strongly human to you, despite all of this AI tooling?